Look at the picture. See the skull. Visible Frankenstein controls. The Brain Thoughts broadcasting radio. The Frankenstein earphone radio. The latest new skull reforming to contain all Frankenstein controls.
Welcome back to another edition of Seasonal Affective Disorder Stein Control.
Yay!
It's been cold, gray, and rainy every day for like 2 whole weeks now.
Seriously.
And then like even though we've seen a little winter storm action, it hasn't been enough to get me any snow days off work.
No.
So it's just been enough to make driving suck and ensure parking is even harder to come by in my neighborhood.
Snow, more like delayed slush.
Yeah, really. Well, at least the added challenge of not slipping and dying on your way out the door can compensate for the lack of vitamin D as far as making one alert.
Vitamin D is nuts.
Yeah, vitamin D is nuts. Well, might as well. You know what? Why not? I'm going to call it that from now on.
We have a high-class podcast here.
we run a highbrow ship here.
Yeah.
I know it's rich for anyone like myself to speak of vitamin D deficiency, considering that I'm a well-known despiser of summer, and that I also suffer from porphyric hemophilia. But although these...
That was an Oblivion joke.
It was the vampire disease in Oblivion. But although these bleak-ass months are the only time I'm comfortable outside, temperature-wise, that is true. There are many days when it's cold as fuck and I don't even wear a coat because I'm like, this is nice. I like this.
B.R.I. is a frost giant after all. We've established this.
I really am. This is a diatribe already in the intro, but Lissa started watching Outlander, that wine mom Scottish romance novel show. It's not that. It's actually half decent, but
this episode's sponsored by Outlander.
I was like, well, honey, if you find the men on this show attractive, that's pretty much what you got. That's pretty much my ethnicity right there. It's these drunk, splotchy-skinned assholes who all have swords. That's exactly what you married.
This episode no longer sponsored by Outlander.
My dad went to Scotland, and if he didn't open his mouth and reveal his American accent, he would have, like, my mom was like, people just took him for one of the natives, because that's just what we look like.
Well, I mean, he was drunk and playing the bagpipes the whole time, so...
playing the bagpipes badly.
That's what gave him away.
But, as much as I do like the way it feels outside right now, even I have to admit that my mental state takes a hit this time of year. Like, it just, the darkness gets to me, and I find that I'm just more moody and on edge, and things that are stressful that I can normally deal with are just like a unscalable mountain now, and it sucks.
The bagpipes really get on your nerves.
They really do. I really should stop playing them. As far as, this show goes, I've noticed that, every year around this time, when the winter finally starts to get to us, we record a few episodes in this headspace, and it usually ends one of 2 ways.
Oh.
Either we hit a slump and our jokes miss the mark because we barely have the energy to stand, much less come up with good material. Or we get extremely manic and punchy the way you do when you stay up way too late and everything's hilarious.
That's my favorite mood, though.
I was going to say, that's vastly more entertaining, if only for us. So here's hoping the latter case is true this time around, and you'll soon be regaled by the pitch for the live-action Goofy movie reboot, featuring a strong Kingdom Hearts crossover arc directed by Denis Villeneuve. So I was writing that joke. And
that's how you know it's a good joke.
Yeah. And I was like, fuck, how do you pronounce that guy's name? Because he's the guy what directed the gritty Blade Runner. And he directed the new Dune movie that I'm excited for, starring...
Oh, shit, he's directing the new Dune?
Yeah, that's why it's going to rule.
Okay, that sounds pretty... That sounds lit.
That's why it's going to be dope as fuck.
Because I liked Blade Runner 2077.
Yes. And it stars Timothée Chalamet, whose name I also don't know how to pronounce.
My goodness, you're getting run over by whiteness.
His name is Denis Villeneuve, I think is how you pronounce his name. I had to look up because it didn't occur to me.
Did you have to click the Google Translate? It's like Denis Villeneuve.
No, see, I don't even trust that shit. When it's a person, I straight up go to YouTube and I try to find an interview with them.
Yeah.
And I try to see how the person introduces them, and I'm like, okay, that's how it is.
Denis Villeneuve.
He's French-Canadian, by the way. Denis Villeneuve. I was calling him Dennis Villeneuve this entire time, like an asshole.
Hey, it's my good friend, do the wave.
So yeah, but like I had to go through 3 or 4 interview videos with him before I actually fucking found one where he wasn't just introduced by a placard that said his name with nobody saying. I'm like, damn it!
And now a man that needs no introduction.
Yes, like no, I need him introduced.
He just turns to the screen, looks directly at you, and he's like, "Hello, my name is Dennis Villain."
My name is just like a series of cacophonous beeps.
R2D2 speak.
Yeah, not just R2D2, but the wow he does when like the shit gets hit by blaster fire.
Yeah. Noise.
Also known as the John Mouse sound effect.
Wow.
I told you that Lissa started.
That's the noise the Rancor makes, actually. that's John. Actually, that'd be pretty funny.
I probably mentioned this on an episode way back when it was a lot more topical, but Lissa watched some movie and it had the Hey Moon song in it.
Yeah.
But it was like the original by some lady who I'd never heard of, and that was apparently the original version of that song, and John Mouse covered it, which explains why there's no wah in the song out of nowhere. It's a surprisingly peaceful song.
I do. I like that song. It's like, hey, moon, don't make it bad. Move on.
Okay. I got told with my new longer hair I look like George Harrison, and I'm like, which one of the Beatles was that, and was he shitty?
Mickey Figgy, you look like Death Stranding.
Thank you.
You're Norman Reedus.
You look like
Where's your funky fetus?
Norman Reedus on the Funky Fetus.
You look like Norman Grievous. It's true. But in Death Stranding, not in a movie that we're going to talk about soon.
Ah.
Taylor, who are we?
Like, who are any of us? Like, man. I'm getting with the Gen Z. They like that filter where they make all the voices crazy.
Yeah.
Where they're like, they read the tweets and they're like, I feel when you eat the salsa.
And you gotta have the laugh that's like,
That's just how I cough anyway. No wonder I'm
it's
so
not a
hip with the
cough, it's
kids.
a laugh.
Yeah, it's this one. You know, the one that's hilarious and isn't overused at all. It's old memes, kids. You gotta up your game. Get on my 30-year-old level.
Vintage
We're
memes.
cool.
The laughing crying emoji isn't cool anymore.
So what the fuck are you talking about?
We're talking about Emoji Stein Control. I'm your host. The laughy cry face, but it's diagonal. To my left is Emoji Ship.
I am the emoji that's like, looks like they're having a bad time, but they also use it as like an orgasmic face, and there's like water droplets and an eggplant, but that's not denoting how horny I am. It's just denoting how thirsty I am because I forgot to put my jar of water on the table, so I can't drink anything. So I'm just gonna drink the water in this
flower vase
in
there.
this flower vase.
Nice. I noticed you're drinking around the flower. You could just lift it out.
Nutrients in it, and in front of me, as always, is Emoji Rye.
I'm Emoji Rye. I'm B Rye. I'm a mixture of the skull emoji, of a skeleton, and the gun, the green plastic squirt gun that is not the revolver anymore.
It used to be a gun.
Because they took away the gun. They took away Elmer Fudd's gun. They took away the gun emoji.
See, that's
thanks cancel culture and liberal Hollywood.
Obama took away my gun emoji. That's what my rights.
Obama took away my ability to send vaguely threatening images via text.
Now all my threats look like fun playtime with squirty guns.
Do you have any idea how much data it takes to send an ASCII Glock? I gotta do that now.
My overage charges are through the roof. Yes, welcome to our hilarious and woke and lit and
Fleek. That's another one.
Drippy.
I think Fleek is old by now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's way old, but it was old when it came out.
As most things are.
We're drippy and hip and with it. That's what the kids say. This person is dripping.
Mm-hmm. Hello, fellow youths.
Let's just stay atop of the curve and make up our own slang about things. So now something is really funny, but like in a depressing way, it's grumbo.
Grumbo.
Like, that's fucking grumbo, man.
Yeah.
That's the grumboest shit I ever done seen.
And if something is extremely relatable, that's feep.
Feep. I
That's
like
so
Feep.
feep.
Yes.
Feep, dog.
So here's something real feep. We watched Blade. We watched Blade 1 and 2. You know, those old fucking movies.
Blade's supposed to be 30 in them, too.
People were older back then.
I look at myself and I look like shit.
Also, can I have just a small little divergence here that's on topic?
Go for it.
Last night I played Pikmin 1. I booted that shit up. That game came out in 2001. Pikmin 1 is 20 years old.
Oh my god.
20 years.
I remember when that was like the new shit.
The GameCube came out 20 years ago.
That used to be like the Pikmin. Like my dad read all these emerging tech mags and stuff back in the day because he's a software engineer.
Yeah.
And there was like, he's like, Bri, have you ever heard of Pikmin? Like, this game looks like it's awesome. Like, you like them video games, isn't it? Have you heard of this one? It looks really cool. And I remember reading an article about Pikmin and how it was like revolutionary for gaming at the time. And I cannot fathom that was 20 years ago.
Yep.
I mean, next year, then that means that Kingdom Hearts 1 will be 20 years old.
Oh god.
Surprise!
I'm not okay with that.
You're welcome.
I'm really not okay with that. I'm far less okay with that than I ever thought I'd be. That's fucked, man.
Speaking of things that aren't okay, fucking Blade. We gotta discuss this movie. These movies. We saw 1 and 2. And
I saw 1.
Yeah, you saw 1.
I had to go to work, so I didn't
and
see
then we
2.
saw 2.
And I passed out halfway through 2.
God, you guys are...
My wife and I were stoned.
At least I have an excuse.
You missed,
I just told you I had an excuse. My wife and I were stoned.
You missed, like, one of the funniest moments in cinematic history.
Oh, man. What was it?
Oh, God, it was so good. So, the first Blade movie, I'm gonna be real. It's mostly just entertaining because it's not that great. But it's very entertaining because it's like a movie that's more than the sum of its parts. It's just this fine combination of things that make it a wonderful viewing experience. You know, because like it's the story, it's the characters, it's the lovely special effects, and the gaping plot holes and the myriad.
What were the plot holes?
The myriad plot holes and the tax evasions.
Yeah, tax evasion jokes were good.
Yeah, we made lots of jokes about tax evasion in that movie because haha, Wesley Snipes, lol. It's the lowest hanging fruit. But no, it's great.
Wesley, actually, real Wesley Snipes, much older Wesley Snipes, appeared as a cameo as a vampire on What We Do in the Shadows in an episode 2.
Wait,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
He was just there. They visit this stupid vampire club run by their friend, who's played by Nick Kroll. And he's just like, and you know my crew, of course. And they all have like ridiculous, stupid vampire names. Like, there's Galtus, the feared one, and stuff. And one of them was like, and here's Wesley, the Daywalker. Or something. It's just Wesley Snipes with vampire fangs. He's not like dressed like Blade or anything. It's just literally just Wesley Snipes with vampire fangs.
That's good.
And he doesn't even say anything. It's just him.
But yeah, so one of my highest quality recommends for that movie is watch that movie, if only for Wesley Snipes being one of the funniest characters in the movie. Because he's not funny.
Yeah.
He is stoic to hilarity, is the only way I can describe it. He's really funny in that he emotes none, he does nothing in terms of like showing any emotion at all. And it starts out like, ooh, this guy's hard, man. But eventually it just gets to the point where like this man is a horrifying cyborg. And I can't stop laughing at how his circumstances get crazier and crazier. And he's just like, that's it. That's all you get out of Wesley.
The one time
really
he did emote was, I think, in the hospital. He was trying to kill a vampire and rescue a woman. And the police came in and they started shooting at him. Yeah. And they shot him in the body armor. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
Which, like, honestly,
crazy motherfucker.
Okay, so here's the thing about that scene. I wish that came like near the end of the movie and not in the beginning, because it sets you up to think that this guy can possibly be funny. But like, I wish that we just
it never
had a
happens
fucking
again.
stoic the whole movie. And I know that's to establish and endear you to the character immediately, to really quick make you go like, oh, I like this guy.
This is a person.
But it would have hit a lot funnier. It was just the whole movie. He's just this blank-faced murder machine, and then at the very end of the movie, someone does something stupid. He's like, "What the hell you doing?"
It just shows you though
that would hit really good.
The scene, unfortunately, really just shows you that even in 1998, you know, we think of a lot of our institutional problems as being more current than this, but even in '98. When NYPD officers bust into a room and there's literally vampires attacking people and draining their blood, and one black man standing there, they shoot at the black man.
Mm-hmm. That is true. That does happen. And the
Also, this is L.A.
Oh, right.
We kept thinking
that's right. The whole movie we kept thinking it was New York, and it's like clearly established. So, well, by that I mean not at all clearly established.
Yeah, they say it's L.A. They don't really show that because they don't show any of like the landmarks.
Oh, let's face it. It was L.A. for like 2 establishing shots and fucking Ontario for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, generic, gritty-looking cityscape.
Yeah,
filled with back alleys for people to be attacked by vampires in.
Oh, speaking
and
of
for
low
Blade to
budget,
then kill those vampires in.
Speaking of low budgets, we got to take a minute to describe the blood magic at the end of the movie. At the end of the movie, our main bad guy, he gets magical vampire god powers.
He becomes the blood god.
He becomes the blood god, and he gets sliced in numerous fashions and then glues himself back together with his own blood. But it looks like the fucking... I might be the only person on the planet who calls it this, but in Mortal Kombat games, when the characters would like spout blood, they always looked like grapes to me.
Oh, yeah.
Like they looked like bunches of grapes, like red grapes that would fly out of people.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it looked like.
It looked like grapes. The man was made of red grapes, and it was really funny to watch. And I'm like, this is some Capri Sun shit.
Once it established,
commercial.
It's a Gushers commercial. Yeah, it is. It's a Gushers commercial.
Once it established the fact that he was the blood god, I expected his entire body to just be a human skin water balloon filled with no bones or anything else in there. Just
he didn't have bones. He had the skeleton inside of his skeleton.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
There's a bit where they do this ritual to make him the blood god, and they have all these unwilling other vampires standing there. And when the ritual begins, these like skeletons with wings burst out of the mouths of all the other vampires. And it's not their skeleton. There's another skeleton inside of their skeleton.
Yeah.
You see their skull come out of their mouth, and then this other smaller skull with wings and a tail erupt from that.
That is definitely the part of the movie that I started screaming uncontrollably with laughter.
Yeah.
Just because it comes out of fucking nowhere, too. Like, you were not expecting it at all, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, that shit happens, and it just slaps you across the dick, and it's great. Oh, God.
Well, real talk, though, there's one scene in the movie that actually kind of fucked me up.
Uh-huh.
And it's when they Blade and the main female character, whose name I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Miss Unimportant in the second movie.
Miss not in the second
Miss
movie.
Lady.
Miss Lady. When Blade and Miss Lady are raiding the vampire fortress, and they go into the basement, into the server room, and they find the morbidly obese neckbeard vampire.
Yeah.
And they proceed to torture him for information by shining a UV flashlight on him. Like, that really fucked me up.
This is gonna end up being a burn on me. And
no, I'm not making any kind of funny. Like,
it just made me feel like someone was hurting my friend Taylor.
Like, I felt so bad for him. I associated him with somebody I really care about, and it looked horribly painful. It was just, they do it for forever. They just shine this fucking UV flashlight on him as he sizzles and screams and burns.
Yeah,
and it's funny helium voice.
Yeah, and then like, I'm like, he told you the shit. He told you what you had. Just stop it. Just stop burning him. I don't care he's a vampire. Just fucking stop it. He's had enough.
I still don't understand how a vampire gets that fat.
Because here the thing about it is he was of the category as the Johnny the Homicidal Maniac comic about how the kid gets bit by the vampire. It's like a weird aside or intermission comic in the middle of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
Yeah,
where
it's about this guy who wants to be a vampire.
I want to be a vampire. I want to be. He's a goth, and he wants to look like the character from Interview with a Vampire and be like this sexy sleek king prince of the night. And so he's visited by a vampire that looks like that. And that vampire's like, I shall grant your wish and turn you into a vampire. So he does it. And he, like, all his hair falls out and he looks like Nosferatu. And he's like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh yeah, like this peak perfection form of vampirism that I'm in right now, like, it takes eons of feeding to achieve this. Like, you gotta work your way up to looking beautiful. And then it says, like, 100 years later and he looks like 10 times worse. And it's just like, that fucking vampire.
Yeah, he has like horrible like walrus.
Yeah,
walrus-sized
his head
fangs.
is giant and bald and like sagging over the back of the couch.
Has to
And
be
he
like
just-
wheeled on a cart.
yeah, and
It's
he's
so
like,
big and
God,
fat.
that fucking vampire.
That's what happened. That's what happened to the fat guy.
Yeah.
Okay, he didn't take care of himself.
My 900-pound vamp.
Next on my 500-pound vampire.
On Dr. Phil, you have an addiction to blood.
You can't be a creature of the night because you can't even fit out your front door. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna feed on? You ain't feeding on nothing except them Twinkies in the bottom of your bedside. That's what you doing. You're not doing anything with your life. Now give me $500.
And that's Dr. Phil's astonishingly low rate for appearing on his show. You have to pay him $500. That's it. I'll do a lot of shows. That's how I'm so wealthy.
It's outside
That's
of
a
his
lot
contract.
of $500 payments.
It's outside of his contract. He just wants $500 for funsies. He wants to use that $500 for becoming a werewolf.
There was Dr. Phil wants to use $500 to become a werewolf. Sure.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
There was a I guess like a couple years ago, Steve Harvey had like some kind of a list of rules that his like assistants have to abide by. Like if you were coming on my show, or if you're I think it was for his staff, not for guests. It was like demands that Steve Harvey makes of his staff, and people, like, it got spread everywhere because it was like some of this stuff seemed unreasonable or whatever. And somethingawful.com did like a weird fake article where it was like Steve Harvey's list of rules about the giant bird or something. And it just implied that he has this giant horrifying bird that just lives backstage of his show, and it's just always there, and it's completely unrelated to any of his guests that come on. And he's like, please do not interrupt me during my meal of my giant egg every day. Like, come on guys, it's my time and I only get one. I only get one a day.
Steve Harvey's his head is a giant egg.
I suppose so.
It's a giant egg with a mustache.
Where do you think the bird hatched from?
Oh my God. Each night, the bird hatches from Steve Harvey's skull.
He's
I want to talk about the villain.
okay. Yeah,
And
let's get back on
Oh
track.
yeah,
with
let's
fucking
talk about the
Blade.
villain.
The villain's a fucking dork.
Yeah,
He really
Like, he
is.
doesn't look threatening or cool. He just looks like some douchebag.
He looks-
He looks like the kind of kid that like says his dad owns a dealership.
He looked like the one day when Kippa showed up to 9th grade math class trying to cosplay Reno from Final Fantasy VII, which didn't happen but sounds plausible. But if he had, the villain from Blade would have been the result.
Yeah.
He is an incredibly lame villain, but I think that adds to your hatred for him.
Yeah, because
Like-
you don't hate him because like, oh man, this guy's bad news. He needs to
No,
go
you
down.
hate him 'cause he
You hate
thinks
'cause
he's king shit
He's
and
just
he's
a
not.
prick.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's incredibly realistic, because who often are the biggest villains in life? It's an
Yeah.
opportunistic shitheel. Some dork who saw his moment to do some bad shit and took it.
As we all know,
It's
God
never-
hates dorks.
Yeah.
So he needed to be punished by the Daywalker.
Yeah.
And like his hair is dumb, his face is dumb,
He got that
his
90s
attitude
hair.
is dumb, and that like, well, my favorite part of the movie is that like he's part of this elder council of like full blood vampires. He's some sort of half blood, and for some reason he has this incredible amount of sway over them.
Yeah, why was he able to do half the shit he did?
Yeah, like he just fucking dicks on this all-powerful vampire council constantly, and they do nothing about it.
He's there by himself up against 12 elder vampires that should like have the stuff to take him on, and he just goes in and bosses them around, and like they're like, I don't know, I don't know what we're gonna do. We can't kill him.
I guess he just gets to do this.
There's only one of him and 12 of us. We're outnumbered.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
they're clearly old enough. They're all speaking Draculese or whatever the fuck. Like they're clearly like super fucking ancient, and like by all vampire stories ever, the older you are, the stronger you are. This guy looks like he's the new king of Dick Mountain. Only what, like fucking 30 years old tops.
Yeah.
And then like he kills that one Vladimir Putin looking one who's like the high chancellor or whatever by exposing him to sunlight, and the guy just lets him do it.
Yeah,
he looks like he just let him do it. He just stands there and lets him do it. He doesn't try to fight back at all.
Yeah,
he has like one henchman.
Yeah.
He just walks him out on the beach, him and Britney Spears and Vladimir Putin, and then the sun rises, and he decided to wear sunscreen. Vladimir Putin's just like, oh, I fucked up. I should have put on my zinc today.
Yeah.
And then, he burns, and then
Then he explodes.
Yeah. This is great.
It's like, why did he just let him do it?
We need to talk about the vampire deaths in the Blade series. They're fucking awesome. Whether the graphics are shit or not, you kill a vampire and they explode into an ashy skeleton, and that's great. Mm-hmm. It never gets old, and it's awesome, and it's only made better when their skin rips apart in a gory John Carpenter's The Thing Cronenberg horror show, and then they burst into flames. You go, wow. And then they fucking explode!
The skeleton explodes.
Unbidden, yeah, their skeleton. It's like, you didn't need to do it, but you did, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was really fucking funny.
Someone set off an M80 in the Halloween aisle.
And then, like, I think that's why I appreciate Wesley so much in these movies, is that we just described the most insane shit, and it's happening constantly in these movies, and Wesley is just fucking straight face the whole fucking time. It's really entertaining to just watch that shit fly off his back like a duck.
As a final little present, I do want to talk about the really uncomfortable parts towards the end of the movie.
Oh,
Let's see if I remember them.
With his mom.
Oh,
yes.
God.
Because his mom was turned by Dorcas
spoiler alert for a
The whole-
50-year-old movie.
The whole reason Blade is a half vampire is because his mother was bitten while she was pregnant with him, and then
While she was giving birth.
While she was giving birth, but like basically he was ready to come out and she got bit.
Yeah.
And then he always thought his mom was dead and that she died of being bit by the vampire, but no, she had been turned. And so then he meets her in the underlayer of Count Dorcula, and she's extremely sexual towards him.
Yeah, there's way too many shots where she's right in his face with her lips barely brushing his, and it's like, this is his mom. This is gross. I don't want to look at this. Stop it.
Yep.
And they keep
go back to the burning fat guy.
Oh man,
That was hard to watch, but it wasn't this.
So yeah, we had the uncomfortable incest that Freud was just jacking off to.
Vampire Freud. Was
There's the less uncomfortable but still very uncomfortable bit where he's like put into the machine that gets his blood, and then unimportant lady opens him up and saves him, and she's like, "You're too tired. You gotta feed. You can take my blood." And he starts drinking her blood. And there's like 20 back and forth shots of like her face like and his face in her neck just it just goes back and forth like, stop it, we get the gist of it. He's sucking his blood. We see, stop it.
Don't forget the one aside.
Turn it off.
He does like a roar when he's finished sucking her blood.
Oh, yeah.
Which just reminds me of the earlier fantastic scene where vampires are going nuts in the city, and that one's like drinking a Vagrant dry in that alleyway, and then roars, and it's this fucking stock ass cougar scream.
Play the cougar scream. Yeah, there it is. That's the one.
Oh, it's so funny.
Before we go, I do want to say one thing about Blade 2. Watch it, first of all. Directed by Guillermo del Toro, and he's a good director, and it's a fun movie. It's a big, fun ride.
Was that really Guillermo?
Yeah.
Really?
That's why it's better. Anyway, because he's a great director, and I love him. He made Pacific Rim.
He did,
which is the world's best stupid movie. But yeah, the movie is great. I don't want to spoil anything because it's the lead up that you need to know about Norman Reedus. He dies in that movie. It's not a spoiler because like you know what's coming from like the moment one he shows up. It's like one of those characters.
Yeah.
But the way that he dies was the most out there, but like also just it's fucking amazing. I laughed. I saw stars laughing at that scene when he died. It was so funny, and I recommend watching that film in its entirety just for that, because you need the lead up. You need that shit to simmer.
And that's in Blade 2.
Yes, that is Blade 2. I have yet to see Blade 3, but I have seen Blade 4. That's called Blade 4.
The Bladening.
The Night of All the Blood.
Blade 4, the IRS gets suspicious.
Blade 4, Undersea Adventures.
Blade 4, Double Blade 2.
Blade 4, Blade 5.
Blade 4, Skin.
Blade 4, Director's Cut. With a blade.
Blade 4, Slapnuts Adventure.
Blade 4, Return of the Fishman.
Blade 4, is Doug Jones in this one?
Blade 4, there's not going to be a Blade 5.
Blade 4, The Last Airbender.
Blade 4, Wesley's contractual obligation.
Blade 4, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
Blade 4, this time part of Wesley's release from prison is they're gonna tattoo his W2 on him this time.
Oh my god. Blade 4, Wesley Snipes just eats ice cream and it's a nice time.
Blade 4, and stop focusing on Wesley Snipes and make Jeff Bezos pay taxes.
Blade 4, Jeff Bezos is a vampire.
Blade 4, he absolutely is.
Blade 4, I love you.
Now even you know I am a menace. I hand you the secrets to save the entire human race and the entire universe.